Oh, look who we have here. What he is about to share with you in the next few minutes even terrifies him. Cries, pains, tears, sorrow, wounds, and death at a close look. Voices of people from the horrors of the past. This is History with My Space, and I am Miracle, your host. You have heard stories about the Roman Empire, but the details of its existence is, and may still be, unknown to you. Well, in this part we would have a voluptuous dive into the Roman Empire. In 27 BC, Augustus established the Roman Empire, which was from then on ruled by an absolute emperor, though there were many rebellions and plots. The capital city of the Roman Empire was of course Rome, in modern-day Italy. At its height, it encompassed nearly the entire European continent as well as parts of the Middle East and Africa. The Roman Empire's tentacles stretched from England to Egypt, from Spain to Iraq, and from southern Russia to Morocco. We're going to look at 5 aspects of the Roman Empire's government: conflict, migration, economy and trade, and everyday life. It's a shame that we can't know much about the politics of the Roman Empire, since so little has survived from that time. Most of what we do know about the Roman emperors comes from Suetonius' Lives of the Caesars, which was written a whopping 119 years after the events. Not only that, but Suetonius had a bone to pick with the emperors for destroying the Senate, so his books are filled with rumors. Hooray for Emperor Claudius for conquering Britain in AD 43. Despite the valiant efforts of Caratacus and Boudicca's rebellion in AD 60, the Romans were still able to prevail. However, Scotland proved to be a challenge, and the 9th Legion may have been destroyed there. In the 120s, the Romans pulled back behind Hadrian's Wall. The Roman Empire was truly impressive, stretching from Portugal to Persia and from Scotland to the Sahara Desert. Ah, the Pax Romana, what a time of peace and prosperity. Merchants were able to trade across the entire known world, and the economy was booming with lead mining, high-tech watermills, and reapers. And millions of enslaved people working on latifundia. Rome was incredibly wealthy, with aqueducts, concrete buildings, huge sewers, and lavish baths. The rich enjoyed decadent meals, while the poor were kept content with bread and circuses. What a shame! After a crisis in the 3rd century AD, Rome slowly declined and eventually crumbled in AD 476. It's a real tragedy, considering the Romans traced their history all the way back to 753 BC, when 2 brothers, Romulus and Remus, were said to have consulted the birds to decide where to build a new city. In reality, Rome began to flourish in the 6th century BC, when a number of small villages on hills near the river Tiber started to come together. Early Roman history is full of wonderful stories, some of which might be little more than legends and others that reflect epic events that actually took place. Hooray for Horatius, who valiantly held the bridge against invaders. And who could forget the cackling geese who saved Rome from capture by the Gauls? Not to mention the wars against Carthage and the defeat of Hannibal and the slave revolt of Spartacus. Until 27 BC, Rome was a republic, and it was ruled by the illustrious Senate. Among its most renowned members was Marcus Tullius Cicero. What a time to have been alive, but shamefully by the 1st century AD, the republic collapsed. Power. The Roman Empire was a marvel of government, with the emperor as its absolute ruler. No one could question his decisions, as he was head of the Senate, the army, and the Roman religion. Though some emperors had difficulty controlling the empire, leading to rebellions and plots, the Senate was still a kind of parliament. Electing senators from aristocratic families to hold the most important government jobs. Provinces within the empire were run by a senator-governor, ensuring the safety of the people. More fantastic was the idea to station the legions on the empire's borders, such as Britain, and to have an army general run the provinces. It's no wonder the wars were so successful. Rulers of the Roman Empire. 44 BC 43 BC Julius Caesar was appointed perpetual dictator, which meant he had complete control. Unfortunately, he was assassinated in the Senate by people trying to prevent him from becoming emperor. Then, from 43 BC 27 BC, it was a period of wars and turmoil as people fought for power. Nevertheless, by 27 BC AD 14, Augustus took control of the empire by defeating Antony and Cleopatra. He became the first emperor and conquered Spain and land in North Africa. Sigh, what a mess. Ah, the reigns of Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. What a tumultuous time for the Roman Empire. Tiberius left Rome in AD 26 and ran the empire from Capri, leading to a court full of plots and treason trials. Caligula's reign is difficult to know much about, as Roman historians portrayed him as an insane tyrant. He had a falling out with the Senate, ran out of money, and failed to conquer Libya and Britain. Claudius, though portrayed as an idiot, was the first emperor to use freedmen in the government and conquered land in Turkey, Judea, and Britain. Nero built public buildings and supported the arts, and even took part in performances himself. However, Roman writers portrayed him as a vicious, insane ruler who fiddled while Rome burned in the Great Fire of AD 64. After a successful rebellion, Nero committed suicide. 96 180 foot. Hooray for the 5 good emperors. From Nerva to Marcus Aurelius, this century was a golden age of the Roman Empire, with peace and prosperity reigning throughout. Edward Gibbon was right to call it a golden age. What a wonderful time it must have been. Romans at war. The Roman Empire was a force to be reckoned with. With a whopping 500,000 men in its army, comprising of 30 legions, the Romans were always ready to conquer. It's no wonder they were always at war. The Romans had a policy of basing troops far from where they were conscripted. This was likely due to the times when different generals fought for power, such as Julius Caesar marching on Rome in 44 BC, Augustus fighting with Antony and Cleopatra in 32-30 BC, and Vespasian conquering the empire in AD 69. The Roman Empire was always expanding, and the government was able to benefit from the money it gained from its conquests. The empire reached its greatest extent under Trajan, who attacked Parthia, now part of Iran, but was unable to defeat them. Though the Romans weren't always successful, such as in AD 9 when up to 20,000 soldiers were killed in the Teutoburg forest in Germany, they still marched through the area afterwards, slaughtering the Germanic people. In AD 43, Britain was invaded by Emperor Claudius and his 4 legions and war elephants. Unfortunately, most British tribal chiefs simply surrendered without a fight due to their prior connections with the Romans through trade with Gaul. Caratacus fought 2 battles to try and stop the Romans, but was ultimately defeated and taken back to Rome in chains. The Romans also invaded Wales and destroyed the Druids on Anglesey in AD 60, and Queen Boudicca rebelled in the same year, but was defeated at the Battle of Watling Street. However, the Romans were unable to conquer Scotland, and some historians suggest that the Roman 9th Legion was ambushed and destroyed while attempting to invade Scotland c.AD 117. Though this is disputed. In response, Hadrian's Wall was built in the 120s to mark the northern edge of the empire. This wall, much of which still stands today, stretched 73 miles from the Solway Firth in the west to Wallsend in the east. It's truly a shame that the Romans were able to invade Britain so easily, and that the British tribal chiefs didn't put up more of a fight. Movement and settlement. The Roman Empire was a force to be reckoned with, conquering many different peoples across southern Europe and North Africa. Thanks to the Pax Romana, Roman citizens were free to explore the world. The Latin language, spoken throughout the empire, was a unifying factor that brought people together. The empire also had a policy of using soldiers from outside the country to control it. This was partly so they would be more ruthless and partly to disperse any groups of warriors who might want to oppose the empire. 3x and Secutor. These gladiators, including female gladiators, were as famous as modern footballers. Education in the Roman Empire focused on reading and writing, while older pupils studied rhetoric, which required them to learn Greek. The father was the head of the family, and shockingly, was allowed to beat his children to death. Rich Romans held extravagant feasts with multiple courses, entertainment, and copious amounts of wine. After they had eaten as much as they could, the guests would even make themselves sick so they could eat more. Romans believed that the gods controlled nature. The Romans were a superstitious bunch, consulting the priestly augur to divine the future. They would study the signs, such as birds or the liver of a slaughtered goat, to determine if they would have good luck. But their prayers and sacrifices weren't necessarily meant to please the gods, rather the accuracy of the ceremonies. Consequences. Alas, the end of the empire. What a tragedy it was to see such a great power decline and eventually dissolve. It all began in the 3rd century, but it took centuries for the empire to completely fall apart. The crisis of the 3rd century was a tumultuous time, with 50 years of anarchy, 25 different emperors, invasions by the Goths and Vandals, hyperinflation, and a plague in 251. Emperor Diocletian split the empire into 2 east and west. The Eastern Roman Empire, based on Byzantium and renamed Constantinople in 330, lasted until 1453. The Western Roman Empire, based on Rome, crumbled under invasions by Vandals, Ostrogoths, and Visigoths. In 476, the Germanic leader Odoacer overthrew the Western Roman Empire and became the first barbarian king of Italy. The successor to the Western Roman Empire was called the Holy Roman Empire, which was run by the new Germanic leaders but based itself on the Roman Empire and lasted until 1806. It's a shame that such a great empire had to come to an end. But we can still remember its legacy and the lessons it taught us. In Britain, the numbers of Roman soldiers gradually fell as they were retracted back to Rome to resist the barbarian invasions. The last Roman soldiers left the country in 410. Saxon pirates attacked and over time and conquered Britain. The legendary King Arthur may have been a Romano-British leader who tried to stop them. Consequences. What an incredible legacy the Romans have left us. From language and law to science, politics, and architecture, their influence is everywhere. Just take a look at these examples to get a glimpse of the Romans' far-reaching impact. And during the Renaissance, people embraced Roman ideas and put them to use. How inspiring. We still have many remains of the Roman Empire in our world today. It's amazing to think that so many aspects of our lives today are still connected to the Roman Empire. Roads, Latin language, academic names, words, sayings, mottos, months, planets, laws, religion, numerals, concrete, roads, buildings, aqueducts. And films and TV dramas, all of these are still influenced by the Romans. It's incredible to think that the Senate in the United States is even named after the Roman Senate. Ugh, some historians may like to analytical argument comparatively, but why bother comparing the Roman Empire to other empires? It's clear that the Roman Empire was the most powerful and influential of them all. Let's focus on the positive aspects of the Roman Empire and how it has shaped our world today. After all, it's the foundation of our modern society. It's nice bringing this content your way. I'm still your host, Miracle. Please like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for coming our way.